Ba 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 ba. This song is copyrighted. Hey everyone, Con Cola here, back after I don't know, a month or so, here to do, as you can see in the title, a review on Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. So what I'm planning to do is I'm planning to do reviews for every single one of the Star Wars movies, and by the time that this video was released, Episode 8, The Last Jedi, has already come out, but I want to do reviews of all of the Star Wars movies first, before Last Jedi. I will do a review of Last Jedi, both with no spoilers and spoilers, but I want to get the other films out of the way first because I don't know, I just want to. And if yeah, as you can see, the it is a bit if you see that shaking a bit, it's because that the I'm filming on my laptop and I'm put the laptop on my lap, and so every time I move, it will shake a bit. So I'm gonna try not to move. But this video is gonna be mostly voiceover anyway, so but I still apologize for that. Alright, enough of me. Let's get into the movie that is probably one of the most anticipated movies of 1999, the year that came out. Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. I think that this was the very first Star Wars movie I saw. This is a movie that actually got me interested in the whole franchise, even though it's not good. Um, when I first saw it, I think I was 7 or 8. I don't know exactly how old I was, but I remember watching it and being blown away at how I thought at the time, how spectacular the action was and how cool everything looked. But even back then, I noticed that there was something wrong.
This is getting out of hand. Now there are two of them.
So let's start right from the beginning with the opening action sequence where we're introduced to these two Jedi Knights, Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's really underwhelming. Yeah, this action sequence, it's supposed to be really exciting with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon fighting off all these droids and then the other round droids that roll and have the shields, but it's just not that interesting to me because I don't really know anything about these characters, so nor the people that they're after, the admirals or whatever. So why should I care? And also something else about this movie, Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon is not that interesting of a character. No one really is, and no one really gives that good of a performance. But this is Liam Neeson that we're talking about. Liam Neeson is awesome, but just unfortunately he's not giving a good performance. I don't necessarily blame him. Liam Neeson is not giving a good performance, and it's a shame because he's a really good actor. And also, just about the character, if you cut him out of the movie and replace all of his scenes with Obi-Wan, the movie would have been the same. In fact, it would have even been a little better in my opinion. Not to disrespect Liam Neeson, but just Qui-Gon wasn't that good, and unfortunately Liam did not give that good of a performance. And actually, none of the characters are really that interesting, and none of the actors are extremely one notes and are delivering really bland performances. Samuel L. Jackson as Mace Windu. Samuel L. Jackson is one of the most over the top actors of all time, but in this movie, he's just talking so blandly. And speaking of blands, Jake Lloyd. Oh God, Jake Lloyd. Yeah, I think there's been enough said about this guy, and I do feel really bad for him because I've seen an interview with him where he talked about the trauma he faced after playing Anakin and how kids would bully him at school and how they would make lightsaber noises while he was walking down the hallway. So I'm not gonna say anything more about Jake Lloyd. All I'm gonna say is that unfortunately he just wasn't giving a good performance, and I do feel really bad that he was bullied, but just unfortunately he was just not good in this movie.
Now this is pod racing.
No, no, it isn't. Let's just go back to the opening action sequence real quick. Something I noticed while rewatching this movie is that the visual effects do not hold up. Not just in this, but throughout the whole movie. I mean, I get why at the time they would be revolutionary, but in this movie they are not that good. They really do not hold up. It looks almost like a bad video game, which is really, really disappointing because this is Star Wars. In the original three films, the effects, even though they're a lot older, the effects really hold up. But I don't necessarily blame anyone on the crew or the visual effects team because if you look into behind the scenes of this movie, George Lucas was not directing this movie well. He was just really not doing a good job, and he was writing scenes while on set. Like even like after like other scenes would be finished, he would rewrite them and then refilm them. Yeah, it was kind of chaotic behind the scenes. Just look it up and see for yourself. Um, I'm not really gonna talk much more about it. Something else about this movie is that the plot is overly complicated and really convoluted. Is It's not necessarily fine, but it can be acceptable if presented or portrayed in an organized manner, I guess. But unfortunately, like 70% of this movie is just people sitting down and talking. And it's just so boring. Like, there are huge chunks of this movie where people are just sitting and talking or walking and talking, and it's just so boring. There are better ways to film exposition. You can film exposition in really interesting and creative ways. But when you just film your actors sitting and talking, it's just not that interesting. Speaking of overly complicated, there's a moment after Qui-Gon finds Anakin. He presents Anakin to the Jedi Council, and he tries to convince them that Anakin should be trained as a Jedi. They reject Anakin, and their reason for this is what? Are you serious? You're going to reject Anakin because he's too old? Are you kidding me? Ugh. Speaking of the Jedi Council, Yoda. Ugh, Yoda. Okay, I'm sorry. No offense to like Frank Oz or anyone in the crew. Okay, first let me get this out of the way. I love Frank Oz. Okay, I think that Frank Oz is one of the greatest puppeteers of all time. I'm serious. But in this movie, I'm sorry. Just not the Yoda puppet looks terrible, and it's so obvious that it's a puppet. In Empire Strikes Back and Return of Jedi, it is kind of, yes, I will admit, it is kind of obvious that Yoda is a puppet, but the character of Yoda is just so fun and cool that you can forgive that. But in this movie, he's just so like, ugh. And also something really dumb in this movie is towards the end while Qui-Gon is dying, he tells Obi-Wan to train the boy and all that stuff. And it's kind of dumb that Obi-Wan is basically forced to train Anakin. And speaking of which, really quickly, the introduction of these two should be epic, but instead we get this. Isn't that just so underwhelming? Okay, going back to Obi-Wan being forced to train Anakin. In the original Star Wars film, there's this amazing speech by Alec Guinness where he's explaining to Luke, this is very shortly after they meet, about Obi-Wan is telling Luke about his father and how Darth Vader supposedly killed him. And apparently there's this big history between Obi-Wan and Anakin. And it starts out by Obi-Wan and Anakin basically being forced to learn from each other, and Obi-Wan being forced to teach Anakin? Really? Really, George Lucas? Okay, so I saved the worst thing for last because I want to do that basically. Let's talk about Jar Jar. Okay, so a lot has been said about Jar Jar already. So I'm not really gonna go into that much about him. All I'm gonna say is this. Okay, so the introduction of Jar Jar in this movie is Qui-Gon saving Jar Jar from a droid or something. As soon as Jar Jar starts talking, starts thanking Qui-Gon for saving him, even as a little kid, I remember thinking, oh my god, is this real? This is real. This is real. This is going to be one of the main characters, isn't it? Oh my god, Qui-Gon, why did you save this moron? Let's talk about the good things about Phantom Menace. The pod race. It's not filmed that great, but it is exciting. The sound effects and the visuals are pretty spectacular, and I have a lot of fun watching this sequence. Sometimes I'll watch clips of the pod race on YouTube, and it is always fun. And of course, Darth Maul. Darth Maul is awesome. Darth Maul is. I can see why Darth Maul is everyone's favorite character. He is one of mine too. And I love his duel in this movie. His duel in this movie is incredible. And of course, the John Williams soundtrack, Duel of the Fates, it's spectacular. The only flaw I have with the Darth Maul duel is his death. It is kind of a cop out, but it's still awesome. All the stuff that happens before it, with Qui-Gon fighting him first, and then Qui-Gon getting killed, and then Obi-Wan fighting him later. It's really cool. So overall, I don't hate this movie, but it does have the potential to do these awesome things, and it just doesn't go in that direction. Like George Lucas could have made a really awesome movie, but he just didn't. I'm going to give this movie a 5.5 out of 10. Alright, so like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm planning to do reviews of every single Star Wars movie leading up to and including The Last Jedi. That was just The Phantom Menace, and soon I'll be uploading my review for Attack of the Clones, so be sure to look out for that. Remember to like and subscribe and click the little bell icon somewhere over here. My hand looks really big. Be sure to subscribe and click on the bell icon to get notifications of when I upload videos and all that cool stuff. Alright, I hope to see you guys soon. Bye.